ACC-Big Ten Challenge is in the books, Giglio, the last one ever, thanks to television deals changing with the Big Ten. They're going to Fox, no more ESPN. So the last ACC-Big Ten Challenge goes, appropriately enough, to the home team, the good guys. The ACC gets the last ACC-Big Ten Challenge. Thank you, Notre Dame.
Let's go.
Notre Dame putting the work.
Yeah, that was it.
That was the thing that got it done. Duke beats Ohio State last night at Cameron Indoor Stadium, a game that I went to. I have my new favorite player, Northwestern transfer Ryan Young. He looks like a guy who would absolutely work you in a lawyer's league. That's all I'm saying.
And probably will one day.
And he will one day. He absolutely will one day. But we'll get to that in a little bit. The main question coming out of the ACC Big Ten Challenge isn't, hey, just how good is the league? The big question coming out of last night's action was, how concerned should people be with the state of North Carolina hoops after they've lost 3 in a row? They started the season as the AP Top 25 number 1. They're not the first AP Top 25 number 1 to lose 3 games in a row. Duke has done it. Michigan State has done it. But Carolina has now done it. And there's a lot of context as to how North Carolina entered into this 3-game losing streak with last night's Indiana loss, from being in the Phil Knight Invitational, 4 overtime loss. Armando Bacot looking like he's got some ankle issue, and he also hurt his shoulder last night in the loss to Indiana. They leave Portland and they go to Indiana for this game. So again, there's lots of context to this, but we've seen enough from the Tar Heels, Giglio, that there are some questions that I think are worth asking. And when is it that they're going to turn it around and get things clicking?
I'm not going to take anything from last night for anything. Mm-hmm. And you alluded to it there. 3 games in 4 days in Portland. So on the other side of the world, okay? One of them, Ohio State, Iowa State, the kid gets hot. Carolina has seen that before.
Yeah,
fine. The other one, a 4 overtime game against a team in Alabama that's going to be there in the end. Really talented team. Mm-hmm. Couple of calls go the right way. Carolina wins that game probably in the first overtime. So I'm not going to take anything from that. Carolina could have played anyone last night on the road. It just so happened to be they played a good team who had a big who could give them problems. So that's an awful matchup for them. It's a short turnaround. People don't want to hear this because it happens in the NBA all the time. But guess what also happens in the NBA and the NHL all the time? 3-game losing streaks where you play well and you lose because you're worn down.
I think what we're referring to is a scheduled loss.
I mean,
because that happens in the NHL and the NBA all the time.
Duke last year, the same exact spot. Mm-hmm. They came back from Hawaii. They were feeling great. They're ready to conquer the world. They had to go to Ohio State. Was Ohio State even that good last year? Not really.
Nah.
But they got them at home in a hornet's nest. I think Indiana's probably better than Ohio State was last year, but I refuse to put any value in last night's loss. Yes, there are 3 in a row for North Carolina now. North Carolina has to figure out how they can get back to the level where they ended the year last year. Mm-hmm. The biggest mistake people make continuously in sports is they think season 2 begins where season 1 ended. Mm-hmm. And the world does not work that way. Even if you bring everybody back. And Carolina brought about just about everybody back. But I think we're seeing Brady Manick was really kind of the key master of that team. Where, okay, Caleb Love, maybe you're having a little bit of an off night. It's okay. Because you'd have Brady Manick and RJ Davis to make up for it. Okay, maybe RJ Davis, you're having an off night. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you've got Brady Manick and Caleb Love to make up for it. When you got 3 guys who can go on the perimeter, it's okay if one of them has an off night. And you saw, it just so happened at the end of last year, those 3 guys were all out, man. They were just balling.
I agree with you that there are mistakes made all the time in sports where there's this idea of season-to-season carryover.
Right. NC State football. We would have beaten UCLA. We're going to go kill ECU.
But North Carolina seems to be the anomaly in years in which they've gone to win championships in terms of season-to-season carryover.
Yeah.
There's sort of like this mission hasn't been accomplished yet. Let's go out and do it. And that's why I understood the sentiment around this UNC squad, because 16-17 won as a continuation of the previous year, having their hearts ripped out by Villanova. 09's championship was a continuation of, hey, Tyler Hansborough is not leaving this university without a freaking national championship. Let's freaking go.
You can even go to 82. They lost in the final in 81. Now, they added somebody named Michael Jordan. I mean, I don't know why that matters.
Even 05, man. Even 05 was are you going to get your act together carryover, let's go win the championship, right? Because there was some question as to who was going to go pro in that offseason. And I remember Roy Williams openly talking about you have to put all that stuff to a side about the NBA potential, and you're coming back to win a championship. You're coming back to win. You're not coming back to do any of that stuff, which is what Hubert Davis has alluded to when he did the whole yellow flag soliloquy, which I agreed with, about NIL and the purity of the JV squad and everything else. Why did you come back? So I think the mistake that people made with Carolina is something that you and I have kind of been questioning throughout the offseason. How much of last year was a team getting hot at the right time, using the Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium as the catapult, the slingshot around the sun to get you to where you needed to be? I think it's fair to say that that was a huge factor in how they went where they went with the Iron Five and nobody subbed and all that stuff, right? You can't replicate that at this time of the year. That's not to say that Carolina can't still be a good team, because we know what they're capable of. You said that Brady Manick is the key master. He clearly was a huge difference maker last year, but they don't have him, and I don't think Pete Nance is the guy that's supposed to replicate that. To me, the key master he's a good player. To me, that key master, the guy who's going to make this thing go, is Caleb Love. Straight up, hard stop, that's it. Caleb Love is a player that will absolutely get you to fall in love with him, like we saw last year at the end, and then actually cause Roy Williams' hair to get whiter. Okay? So, to me, this season is not going to go anywhere for North Carolina if Caleb Love is not going to get back to running the offense, staying within the offense, not doing things where it's just looking for, all right, I got the ball, let's see what I'm going to create. RJ Davis has found himself in that situation too. But it's funny, people get caught up in his shot selection, and that's understandable, and he's not shooting well from three, but there are some other things that happened in the context of the game last night that he's been doing throughout. 5 assists in a game, man, for the team? That's not Carolina basketball.
And that continues to be the issue.
That continues to be an issue.
The ball movement becomes a problem. And I think, remember at the beginning of last year, I'm not suggesting they're reverting to this form.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of last year, it was, hey, we have Armando Bacot, and everything needs to run through him.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. In the best possible way, Armando Bacot is a garbage man. He is an all-time garbage man.
And he's even talked about it.
Works the glass. You don't have to run anything for him because he can get it on his own. And that's really where they started to excel last year, was when the offense was that perimeter-based, or the perimeter-oriented offense. And give Hubert Davis credit. He made a lot of adjustments. They ran a lot of different stuff. I saw last night Duke running horns. It made me smile because Roy Williams. We don't run horns. Well, why? Everyone else runs horns, so we don't do it.
There you go.
Well, last year, Carolina ran a bunch of horns because it fit what they did. And I think Hubert Davis, you give him some time, he's going to figure this thing out. The talent is there. I have bigger questions about Duke than I do about Carolina.
We can get into Duke later. I don't have as many questions about Duke because I don't think we've seen the full complement of Duke until last night, honestly. And John Shire talked about it.
Yes.
That we haven't really had their guys. As he said, we haven't had our guys. And we're starting to see that come through. We also have to kind of unstick what we're used to seeing from Coach K teams as to what John Shire wants to run. And my final point on Carolina, I think it's completely fair to, and I know our guy Cheryl McMillan at Inside Carolina's pointed this out, Brian Barber, who used to run Tar Heel blog back in the day, has pointed this out. These are, to me, rational Tar Heel fan takes, which I think is important to get in. Because if you log on to Twitter in a given night of Carolina basketball, you're thinking the end of the world is happening, right? But there are rational opinions out there, and I think it's completely rational to look at this Carolina squad and recalibrate what you think the expectations are, especially as you've seen Virginia look as good as they've looked. And you understand that it's really difficult to replicate what they did last year. That's not to say that you're going to allow them to not be good. There are still expectations, but I think it's okay to recalibrate what we truly think of this team and where they stand in terms of other Tar Heel teams that have been national title contenders.